All right, thank you, Mr. Sampson, for having me on the program. Thank you, my diaspora brothers and sisters. I've been following up the discussion. It's all about Africa. It's all about the role of Africa in the world, in the global North-South relationship. And so it has been following that. And yeah, my name is Kenneth Gubandi. Like Samson said, I've been in the diaspora space for the past 30 years. I was the chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora Organization for Germany for 4 years, the first to do that. Also, the diaspora chair, Nigerian Continental, 4 years again, the first to do that. And I coordinated the Nigerian worldwide diaspora with about 30 million Nigerians in diaspora representing their interest in Nigeria. We advocated, just like my last brother, the speaker was saying, we advocated that there's a need for Africans in diaspora to also participate in the global affairs, in the affairs of Africans back home in Africa. And that's actually what led me joining the political process in Nigeria, where I contested for the African Democratic Congress senatorial seat for my state in 2023 election. Of course, we expected so many things to have been changed, or our advocacy for diaspora voting right, our advocacy for online voting, our advocacy for direct transmission of results, which we know is a very serious problem in Africa. Unfortunately, all those issues did not meet our expectation, and today we are still on the same process. Anyway, we have many political parties in Nigeria. Prominent among them is PDP, the APC, the ADC, the Labour Party, the Accord Party, and so many other parties in Nigeria. But we're happy that only one political party in Nigeria, the African Democratic Congress, only one, has been able to accord the diaspora the full participatory right for all their for them to get involved in the diaspora, in the political process in Nigeria. And of course, we've been in the minor opposition for the past almost 15, 17 years. But recently, because of the economic situation in Nigeria, we're experiencing an unprecedented economic hardship. The major political players in Nigeria has decided to adopt African Democratic Congress as their major platform to contest the 2027 election. And of course, prominently among them, like Samson already said, is Atiku Abubakar, the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Peter Obi, the last presidential candidate for the Labour Party. Then we have the former Minister in Nigeria for Transport, Rotimi Amechi. Then we have the El Rufai, the former Governor of Kaduna State, and also the one-time Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And so that's where we are. And so we are hoping that finally Africa and Nigeria will take their position in the democracy of nation, and we know that when Nigeria gets it right, the African will get it right. So that's why we're here to share experiences, to listen to what the major diaspora stakeholders think about this coalition process, and also to seek support from my fellow Nigerians in diaspora to make sure that this time around we'll get it right. I hand over back to Samson. Yes and no. In all honesty, I mean the former president of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who we know is one of the elder statesmen in Africa, said that the Western form of democracy has failed Africa. That's why I said yes and no. Democracy, to some extent, is the most tried form of government in the world, which gives people direct representation. But then the problem we have in Africa is that we are adopting the Western form of democracy, which basically seems not to be working in Africa. Take Nigeria for instance. Look at the Yoruba land. Look at the Igbo land. And don't forget that Africa has produced one of the most successful governments in the world. Remember about Mansa Musa, the Mali, the empire, the Ottoman Empire. Look at the Benin Empire. Look at the Yoruba Empire and the rest of them. We see that they have a very, very successful form of government. And it was also based on African form of democracy. And these empires, they were very, very successful. I mean, Mali Mansa Musa was one of the richest men in Africa. Trade was booming. In Egypt, we have academics, we have inventors, and the rest of them. So yes, the Western form of democracy has failed us. There's no two ways about it. Not democracy itself, but the West. Africa, it's time for Africa to go back to, to invent their own form of democracy. And I think with that, we'll overcome most of the problem we're having in Africa. To be honest with you, if anybody is going to come and tell you that all is, I mean, everybody is perfect, it will be much difficult to defend. Don't forget that in the Bible, the Christianity that we are practicing, that when the woman with the issue of blood, the woman with the issue that was caught in the heart, was confronted. They said, if you don't have a sin, throw the first stone. So I do not expect any cent, any cent in politics. And so I'm not making excuse for any of those. But I think the first thing is to really come together, uh, get our country back. Then we can begin to to ask for accountability and transparency. But they say you don't barb a man hair in his absence. We need to get there, and anyhow we have to get there to make sure that we begin to entrench the values of democracy. Because if you're not on the table, you cannot make a decision. So we are hoping and praying that we are going to be at the table, and once we are at the table, then we begin to make the decision. Don't forget, most of those members you mentioned, they are in their 70s and their 80s, and I'm sure that probably it's going to be the high time after this transition that they will honorably bowed out, as a elder statement, so that the youth of Nigeria, men and women, people with disability who have that from diaspora, who have what it takes to transform the government like every other place in the world, can take their position.
Yes. Yes. So thank you. Greetings, and thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I understand that democracy is about freedom, equality, and votes. But if we, as Africans, or even here in America, has been colonized to view their ways from the white looking better than black, and all of these ads saying that this is for us and this will be for the people. All of these things they condition us with regularly, daily, throughout our whole lives, right? And how they colonize Africa, okay, by giving them chump change, basically giving them a piece of equal, but not in whole equal, and never freedom, because they can't even speak on who they really want to be elected or who they want to be out of office. Is that really democracy?
Well, like I told you, it's let's look at I think in our last edition we look at the Burkina Faso, a young man who has taken over power, though a military man, but who is actually what we call a compassionate a military man doing what it has to do in the country. So most of the times you ask yourself, do we really have to blame other person for our own inability and unwillingness to do the right thing? I just mentioned this our young
But
right.
what I am saying, hold on, I'm so sorry. What I'm asking is if they condition you to befriend them in the beginning, and then they constantly do it through propaganda, media, ads, jobs, all of these things that they say they're doing for you, but still not hearing the people needs as far as agriculture, getting their land back, all of the real issues that's for Africa, because things that belong to the people is not going to ignore it. People cannot erase their history.
Well, I'm sorry,
And
but like I said, we have Nelson Mandela from Africa. We have Kwame Nkrumah from Africa. We have Thomas Sankara from
those
Africa.
are old leaders. It has
Well,
changed.
the point is that if they can do that, we can do it. So we need to stand up. Our rising star from Burkina Faso, he's also standing up. And so we can't keep blaming. That's my point I'm trying to make. I'm not defending them. And we
No,
can't keep
but
blaming people. We also need to take,
your
our
votes,
destiny into
your
our hands.
votes,
Yes,
the
what you
votes.
said is what you said exists. I'm not contesting that. As they exist. But how long shall we stand, like Bob Marley said? How long shall we stand and they kill our prophet? It's time we take back our destiny. And taking back our destiny is exactly what we're doing now. We are going to talk about it. We're going to get involved. I'll give you an example, like something said. I've been about 30 years in Europe. I'm living a very comfortable life here. But I decided to go back to Nigeria where they have kidnapping, where they have assassination, where they have political intimidation. But I think we have to get down to our continent and make things work. If we don't get back to our continent, nobody's going to do that. So I'm not saying that people should not travel and seek greener pastures. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that yes, the issues you mentioned are real, they are difficult, but we also have to agree as a continent, as a people, that we need to start addressing those colonialism and neo-colonialism and not keep, speaking to the problem, but we should start
But
solving the problem.
I don't understand how that happened when ECOWAS is protecting the leader and not the people. So when the people speak, they're not really being heard. That's what I'm saying. And so how is that really democracy?
Well, yeah, like I said, we can debate it from now to tomorrow. Is the United Nations the right place? Is the ECOWAS the right place? Is African Union the right place? But I'm saying that in African Union they are Africans. In ECOWAS they are Africans. So we should be able to come together as Africans and stand up against what we think are discrimination against the continent. Because like I said, talking about it alone will not solve the problem. We need to start addressing it.
I don't have any. I don't have any. I'm listening.
Yes, yes. The other countries that are not with the Sahel states, they are against the Sahel states. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not in the government in Nigeria, and also not in any of those countries. But I cannot say for sure. But at least from what we are reading from the social media, there seems to be a kind of biasness, no doubt about it. But again, if it is institutional or just perception, I can't say for sure.
Okay, and I got another one. Did Nigeria send 200 troops to the border of the Sahel states?
Again, that should be the spokesperson of Nigerian military to be able to
Okay.
confirm that.
One
Apart from
last
that,
question, and I promise it the brief one. If the people that are benefiting personally from all the money they obtain, all the other presidents that are doing well, living comfortably from the money they're collecting from the colonizers, why would they willingly give that up?
I totally agree with you. That's why I said when we don't expect power is never given on a platter of gold. Nobody is going to give you the power as a birthday present. You need to take it. You need to fight for it, and that's exactly what I just said with the last speaker. And I totally agree with you.
No.
We're not going to wait for them to give it to us. We have to fight for it. Martin Luther King did not wait for the civil rights oppressors to give him the freedom on the platter.
None of the leaders globally. It was given
Rosa
to.
Parks did not
It
wait
was
for that.
always taken. Okay, I understand how you gonna drop me now until I come up with some more.
Thank you very much.
Right. Bye bye. It was really nice meeting you. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure.
Yes, I think Afrobit. Uh, to ADC, on your manifesto, you said you're going to turn around and try and promote, not try. You said you're going to, when you get into power, you're going to promote one of the aspects that you touched on became healthcare. My question to you is, if the current budget of Nigeria at this moment in time is on 5.9% of the budget, a fall from 15% based on the Abuja agreement, yes? You understand the Abuja agreement? 15% turns around and gives you another 15%, making that budget to be 30. Where are you going to get the ability to do what you said on your manifesto, primary health care and secondary health care, affordable? And when you're saying affordable, what manner of mechanism are you using the affordability on when the amount of unemployment in Nigeria is so low that some people, a big majority of the voters are under a $1.50 a day? Are you saying affordable based on $1.50, or you're saying affordable as a political rhetoric?
Thank you very much. Very, very important question. I will start by saying that leadership is about service. Leadership is about ability to solve problems. Leadership is about ability to think outside the box. Now, let me shock you. As a president or chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora organization, I was able to secure 2.4 billion US dollars, promising to use it for a housing project that will construct 650,000 housing units. The ripple effect, should that have been approved by the government, the ripple effect is that you're going to create about 3,000 jobs almost monthly for the next 5 years. I just gave you a good example. I am not in government, but I have been able to set up a diaspora housing project that is going to build about 700 housing units, low-income housing units. And in this, we're going to employ youth, artisans, electricians, constructors to work on that place, providing paid employment. Now, if an individual can do this, how much more government when we will get into power? Now, what am I trying to say? These things are possible if we have a clear economic policy. Don't forget, Nigerians in diaspora remitted over 62.5 billion US dollar between 2017, 2018, and 2019. This amount is 2 times more than the Nigerian GDP, so to say. We also offered the diaspora bond, which was oversubscribed 300 million by 30%. So when you bring that together, where am I going to get the money? Think outside the box. If you put the correct economic mechanism in place, you raise enough money within and outside Nigeria to be able to fund your program. So what we are lacking is not idea, but we're lacking good leadership. So yes, it is possible, it is achievable. One just need to think outside the box. I just give you a few examples, and I have so many other examples.
So, a follow-up, Afrobit, a follow-up. Because what you explained here is direct investment, yes? That means there's a return. Yet you know that health does not have a return like direct investment. Health turns around and says it is mostly used by those that are disadvantaged, yes? That means the return now, when someone goes to the hospital, it will take them about 20 to 15 years to get the return back. Now, here's the problem. Here's why I asked the question. How are you going to raise from the budget that is put in 2025 budget of 5.9%, yes? That is peanuts to the population of Nigeria. I'm asking you, because on your manifesto, you said you're going to turn around and improve primary health care on an affordable rate. My question now is in two. One, how do you raise 5.9 to 15% to unlock the Abuja agreement? Yes, without direct investment, because no one directly invests on a product that there's no return. Because remember, you said you are going to make it affordable. Now we're using the stats of Nigeria, whereby the majority of the people are under $1.50 on a day-to-day living, yeah, on a poverty datum line. That means now you have to come underneath that $1.50 for a Afrobeats grandmother to go and enjoy getting affordable pills for diabetes, yeah, that are expensive. And the question is, how do you now as a party try and put in this investment by raising it? Where are you going to get the money from? Because as a party, we would have turned around and looked at what? The collectiveness. So the future bringing in, number one, of diaspora remittance cannot work, because diaspora remittances are there to sustain the population at this moment in time. The only time that you unlock the value of diaspora remittance is when you've turned around and removed the ability for me to send money to my grandmother for
No,
healthcare.
I disagree with you. Sorry to say. You see, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That
go on. Explain now.
I want need to think outside the box. You see, yes, I mentioned 60 billion, and you're right, it's for maintenance. But because our leaders have not been able to think outside the box, we can have, for instance, if you send money by Western Union or any of those international money transfer organizations, we could negotiate with them, for instance, to reduce the tax they pay, and to have a take 1% or 1.5% from every money they pay and put it in an investment fund that will not go into maintenance and into family use and the rest of them. So there are so many ways to raise money. That's number one. And there are many high-tech methods. There are many initiatives to offer affordable healthcare without even having to break the budget of both individual or the government. Again, like I said, it has to be thinking outside the box. I've given you an example how the diaspora has remitted a lot of money to Africa, Nigeria in particular. I've given you an example how we have raised the diaspora bond, which was oversubscribed. I've given you an example of our diaspora housing unit, which can create employment, create youth employment, increase the budget, the of an individual, and they'll be able to to afford the basic things of life. So again, it's about thinking outside the box. It's about good leadership. It's about good economic planning. If what I read and see on social media is correct, it's very disgusting. I think the president of Liberia, I don't know whether it's an AI, because in the time of AI, one has to be very careful what you believe and what you don't believe. But I mean, he was very, very, let me quote him to say that Trump was very rude, was very, 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 very unprofessional. He tried to bust out everybody, and actually he regretted making that tweet. So I think I aligned with him. I agree with him. In fact, I've been actually not a fan of the reform, especially he sit down in the Oval Office and every other person will stand around him. I mean, that is modern day slavery. And so I blame those people who knowingly, go to Washington for whatever reason, knowing what they are going to expect. And so, yes, I joined many patriotic Africans from abroad to condemn that ugly incident at the Oval Office. And I hope that the, incoming African countries who want to visit Washington to take that into consideration.
I have not spoken. I think.
Yeah. Okay. This is really interesting for me. Very, very interesting. We are Caribbeans and Nigerians. I'm married to a Nigerian, right? And my ancestry is Nigerian, Ghana, and so on. She didn't know that when she met me. I said to her, I'm just as African as you, and she understands. Okay. Anyway, on another point, Nigeria puzzles me. I have to be honest. Nigeria puzzles me seriously, deeply. They have a population, must be over 200 and I don't know how many million. and they have a leader that I seem to understand, I could be wrong, I don't think I am, called Tinubu. Now, Tinubu's worth according to the Western media sources, between $4 to $8 billion American dollars. This is what he's worth, apparently. This is what they say. And he wanted to set up some kind of system against the great Ibrahim Traore, who loves African people, right? We understand that in the UK because we were up there in the central London praising his name the other day, I seem to recall, right? So this is a man who knows he's an African. I don't think Tinubu knows that he's an African. He's more in love with the French. Now, what I don't understand, and I have asked Sam here as well, as a Nigerian, he's over there in Germany as well, because we've been, well, our family has been displaced from Africa for centuries because of these colonizers, right, who are still messing around in Nigeria. So with Nigerian oil and all the riches that under their soil, right? I think Nigeria should be one of the richest countries in the entire world anyway, I think. Certainly bright enough and great enough to do so. But why don't they get rid of Tinubu? Why don't I'm not you personally. Why doesn't the nation of Nigeria, the proud Nigerians, get rid of Tinubu?
Very, very interesting question. In fact, I can read the comments as you speak, and I think a lot of people are actually in line. They agree with your analysis. One of the reasons why we have a coalition of government led by my party, ADC, is to answer exactly your question. Get rid of him. That's exactly our goal. Our ultimate is to get rid of him, but not to stop there. A speaker before you to initiate a system of government that is transparent, that is accountable to the people, that will focus on the wishes of the dreams of Nigerians, like what we are seeing in Burkina Faso. Well, whether it's on the ground or it's on media hype, but we want to begin to see. I mean, sometimes the one-time German president said that sometimes impression is more infectious than reality. At least to have that impression that we can do that. Yes, we can. So to answer your question, I ran for political office in Nigeria in 2023. The idea is to go to the House of Senate and to begin to make the kind of expectation you are expressing now. I failed, not because I did not do my homework, or not because I did not campaign very well, but because the system was rigged against us. And that was why I was saying, a speaker before you, that we can't sit down here and complain. The system was rigged against me, but I'm not giving up. And as a matter of fact, my party was a mini opposition party, and everybody was asking me to leave that party to go to the bigger party because that's the only place I can be able to have my voice. But I insisted that a party needs to be built from bottom top. And so, if we believe in a party and we believe in the DNA of the party, we should be able to stay put and fight it out. And today, it's one of the biggest opposition party, and hopefully, we are going to answer your question by 2027, and we're going to unseat Tinubu as our president.
So how do they manage to fix it so that you make it difficult? It's difficult for you. What is the corrupt mind that is doing this? I don't like the word corruption because the West is corrupt as well. So I'm not fooled by this nonsense. But how is it that the dodgy people in Nigeria can do dodgy politics and give the people dodgy results when they have so much in Africa and Nigeria?
Well, I mean, just like in everywhere in the world, and you've just mentioned most of them, that a rogue system can beat anybody anytime in the world. We have our electoral system, which we campaign for, to have what we call a online transmission of results, because we discover that when election takes place at the polling station, when it moves from the polling station, which is the local polling unit on your district, when it moves from your district to the central collecting center, that is where they manipulate it. And so we campaigned for and actually got electoral reform where once the result is out on a polling unit, it is online and everybody can access it. And so that makes it difficult for them, to move it from, to manipulate it from there, getting to the polling station. Unfortunately, for whatever miracles, the server failed and packed up and didn't work. Whether somebody switched it off intentionally or it was a bug, they complained it was a bug. I'm just giving just a simple example. So because of that, the live transmission of results could not take place, and again, so many things happened. And even when people, when agents, complained, protested, the result has been tampered with. We have a judiciary that has been compromised, unfortunately. So we have the electoral process that has been compromised. We have a judicial system that has been compromised. And so when you put them together, it answers your question. You have a system that is rigged against you. And until that system is completely overhauled and changed, we are going to be suffering such an incident. And I hope that, and I pray that the Africans to stop complaining, come back together, help the good ones to make sure that we reform the system so that Africa can take their place in the community of nations in the world.
Yeah, one more
May I
question.
please say
So
something?
one more quick question on the point that you just made, sir, is that so do we have names for these corrupt pollsters? You know what I mean? Do we have names for them? They are the problem. Because if I
Yeah,
make a vote and you put it in the bin,
I
why
agree.
am I voting? I'm discouraged.
I agree. The problem is that, until a court of law, whether in Nigeria or anywhere in the world, convict somebody and call them guilty, the common knowledge of law is that everybody is innocent until proven guilty. And so proving those people guilty is very, very difficult. So calling their names online, they might sue you for libel without, a court, conviction, so to say. But again, these are the
They
systems.
can't sue me. They can't sue Nigerians in England. They have no power. They have no power. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Yeah.
Okay. You're welcome.
Greetings, everybody. Greetings,
Greetings.
visitor to the panel. Welcome to the panel as well. Heritage Media House, our media group.
Okay.
Well, my question is, conveniently, you're in a position of power, very serious position of power. Basically, the projection of your power possibly surpass the GDP. It's got potential to surpass the GDP of Nigeria as it is. That's if you manage to access the entire diaspora and funding. The thing is, what you have constantly repeated is the problem with the government and things like that. Clearly, to me, it seems like there's a issue with the layman on the ground understanding how democracy works for him. Why is this concentration by yourself and your organization being done it's being in farmer housing, but essentially what it is doing is basically enabling the government to maintain this derelict of duty regarding social funding, social housing. These are their duty, and it has been studied and established how the diaspora and fund, though it meant well, is affecting the development and the growth of these countries negatively, because essentially what it does is take care of the social needs, the basic social needs of the people, which in turn render them disillusioned with government, not interested in government anymore. Knowing this, because from your perspective, I know this question is long, but I'm certain you're getting the gist. Knowing this from your perspective and aspiration with government, why are you basically acting as a facilitator rather than educating the people? Thanks.
Well, I think I'm actually educating the people. I'm happy. I'm very, very, happy with this conversation because I think we are all on the same boat. If you listen to my introduction, you understand that I live in Germany and I've been in Germany for the past 30 years. You understand that I have left the comfort zone of my country in Germany, my second country in Germany, to Nigeria, where I took all the risk, to contest in the electoral process. Now, in the electoral process, one of the first things we have done is what we call electoral education. Exactly what you just said. I let people to understand that when you sell your vote, you sell your conscience. Number one, you sell your right. Number two, you sell your future. Number three, I tell people that when you vote a crook, like my friend Mark said, when you vote a crook into office, or when you vote for a crook during the election, you accept and confirm his integrity and his a person. And once that is done, and so I think you're right that we have to have what we call a robust, electoral education, so that people will understand that election is just not for fun. That election has consequences. That when you vote for people, you are voting their character, and if you vote criminals into office, you expect crime to be committed. Simple. And so, while we hold government responsible, we also have to hold ourselves, the citizens, also responsible, because we put them in power. I know most people will argue. Maybe I'm going to get a question here and next. But if your vote does not count, so what difference does it make? Yes, it makes a lot of difference. But because this is electoral apathy, to say that because our vote doesn't count, we're not going to do anything, empowers them, emboldens them more. And so, we all know that the breakers of a rock, or the rock breaker, it's not the one single hammer that he hits on the rock that breaks it. It's the continuous process of hammering the rock before with a sledgehammer before it splits open. So my idea, my appeal is that we should not give up. We are not empowering them. We should continue with the voters' education. Even if it doesn't work this time around, like I'm doing now, let's not give up. Let us continue working until we get it right.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm from Nigeria, from Delta State. My question is this because my brother is laughing. Because the picture that I just saw, those politicians, they are very corrupt. I don't want to mention your name here. Who stole Nigerian money and went to Dubai and build companies, houses in Dubai? Okay? Why Nigeria youth? Who went to university? Unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to go to university because there's no free education for poor people. So those ones who have the opportunity to go to university, you see them also riding bike in the street, some pushing wheelbarrow. Why a politician? This I don't want to call his name. Okay, he was born also in a poor home, have the opportunity to become a politician, has ruled Nigeria also, and steal the money and went to Dubai and build house. And the same politician, he still want to come for election for the next maybe 2017. How can Nigeria, how can Africa trust this kind of man? Because those people, the picture I saw, those people, they are all corrupt. They are the ones who steal Nigerian money. They are those ones who are working for the West. So how will Nigeria youth, young men who are coming now, like a Brian Traore, a age like a Brian Traore, will trust the same politicians? What is the guarantee for those politicians, which we know that they are the one who destroy Nigeria, who corrupt Nigeria? That we should also vote them in and trust them, that they will use the resources from Nigeria, use it for the youth, use it for the country, build hospital, make light 24 hours, create business, free education for the poor home. People don't have good work. Create job for them, give them money to support them till they have a job, like the way Germany is doing. Like, brother, I just heard that you live in Germany. Me too, I live in Germany here for 17 years. Okay, I know the system here in Germany. So, how Nigeria, how am I going to trust those men for my children, my next generation, their future? That is my question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma. I want to, shout out to Honorable to forward to victory, who already commented on the screen that Honorable Bandi also has been involved in training of it. That is correct. Right from Germany, I go to, and I think something can also confirm that. I travel to Nigeria as often as possible to do youth empowerment and also youth training, like last speaker asked me about sensitization, electoral sensitization, and so on and so forth. And my sister, I'm from Delta State. I'm from Delta North. I'm from Akukwibo, around Ogwachikwa. So I feel you. When I contested 2023, um, before then I was made the deputy chairman, the deputy national chairman of my party, African Democratic Congress, and I am happy to say that I could author a white paper. A white paper is a policy for the party that if you are under 40 years of age and down, that you don't pay 1 cent to collect a political form to contest. If you are a woman interested in politics, you don't pay 1 cent to be able to contest. And if you are a person with disability and you have what it takes, you don't have 1 cent, to pay to contest. So these are the things we have done. I have done personally. Unfortunately, the same youth. It's not my turn. It's not my intention to blame people, but also to explain why we must have voters education and do it more. The same youth that you do your best for us to think together and see the best thing to do are the same youth that are going to vote for these old people you just mentioned. The same youth are going to carry placards. The same youth are going to drive in their cars and sing for them. You hardly see old people coming out to campaign or vote. You hardly see old people, running around the street. It is youth, it is Nigerian youth that are doing that. So it is time for me and you to begin to educate our brothers, like the last speaker asked, to begin to tell them that it is time for them to stop supporting these old people and begin to support the old ones. Yes, we have those people on this picture. Democracy, whether perfect or imperfect, means that everybody has a right to vote and be voted for, and so you cannot discriminate them from voting. It's now left for Nigerians to come up, sponsor young people who can come and contest against them, and to probably hopefully beat them. Sponsor young people who can, who has a better idea to build the hospitals you mentioned and the schools you mentioned, so that we don't have old people also staying in power for a long time. So, my sister, let us begin to look around. Let us begin to find a political party. Of course, the best will be my party, ADC, where you recognize young people from your local government area, young people from your ward, young people from your state, to begin to support them. 2027 is still far. We have 2 more years to begin to come together as diaspora, come together as progressive Nigerians, to begin to sponsor people, so that those young people that you just mentioned can come and contest with these old people you are talking about, and hopefully make sure that they will beat them. That would be my suggestion. The answer is yes. ADC fielded the largest number of youth in the last election. ADC fielded the largest number of women in the last election. Of course, they did not win because of some certain technicalities, like you said. Election is about numbers. Election is about context. Well, well, like I said, our party has offered that if you're under 40 years, you can collect any form from the president to the primary for free of charge. But yeah, I'm answering your question, something. You don't go. You can step forward. Something can step forward, come and collect our form. If you're under 40 years, you get it for free of charge and challenge them. So it is open. Anybody, any youth can come up. We have not had any primaries yet. There's no presidential candidate yet. Everybody's an aspirant. So anybody who is interested can come forward, pick up a form, mobilize the youth. The youth, by the way, made about almost a 70% or 65% of Nigerian population. So if the youth comes together and support a fellow youth, they will be able to elect a youth president. So the ball is now our court. Yes, any youth can step forward, and my party will be willing to give them ticket for that.
Yes, greetings, people. Greetings, my brother.
Thank you so much, sir.
I will address you directly as pretend that you won the election, you are now the president. Would you immediately exit ECOWAS and join the Sahel states for the benefit of the security of Africa as a continent? Yeah, for the benefit of the development of Africa in a indigenous way. And when I say indigenous, meaning that you no longer depend on the West for support in terms of your indigenous development. That's the first question. The
Thank you
second
very much.
question is,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
listen, the second question is relative to the first. You first mentioned here Ibrahim Traore, and that was impressive in my ears. Yeah. But the principles on which the Sahel states is now governed, I consider it a template. I also consider this platform a interrogation on you by a military organization to prove that you are worthy to be the president. Yeah. And secondly, how would you reunite Nigeria based on the current state of Igbo people, Yoruba people, Fulani people having separate views exposed on the social media that shows total discord, and not really promising a Nigeria that could be progressive in the future? That's my two questions.
Thank you, sir. Let me start from the second question. You see, the issues you're having about the Igbos, Yoruba, Hausa, and the rest of them, because of what we call marginalization, because of what I call discrimination, because of what we call injustice, inequality. The moment you have a free and a fair election, the moment you have people who are, people masses centered, and they begin to roll out a policy that benefits the common man, those agitations will disappear. So you're asking me, how do I unite them? Unite them by doing the right thing. The moment you start doing the right thing, the moment you start, giving everybody equal opportunity, the moment you eliminate nepotism and godfatherism, then these issues will disappear. And so you can be sure that Nigerians and Africans, as a matter of fact, are very, very patriotic, very patriotic, very, family friendly, loving people. They hate injustice. But when justice is done, they are also the first to reach out their hands and say, I forgive you. Let's hug, we are brothers. So I'm sure that once we put those mechanisms in place, where the right people come into the right position, where the round pegs are in round holes and the square pegs in square holes, these agitations will disappear. I can guarantee you. I schooled in Calabar in Nigeria. I am from Delta State. Part of my time are in Lagos State. I was partly in the north. Most of my friends, as chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora organization, I work with all ethnics from Nigeria, and we never had any problem, and we are still remaining friends till today. And I can tell you, I'm not an exception. So many people are also. Something can also confirm that. We have a friend from Yoruba friends, Igbo friends, Hausa friends. It's irrelevant. It is the system that is causing the turbulence. Once we address those issues that are causing this problem, those agitations will die down. Number two, if I am the president today, and I have the necessary intelligence and enough dossier to make a judgment that living ECOWAS will benefit majority of the Africans, I will do it without hesitation. But unfortunately, I'm not the president here. And secondly, I do not have the facts on the ground to be able to make the decision. And I'll be, being presumptuous to agree that I know all the facts to make that decision. But like I said, if that decision is going to bring, development for our people, bring peace and security, end new colonialism, I will do it without hesitation.
Okay, I have a few questions. First, huh? So you said you don't know all the facts about ECOWAS. That bothers you because you want to go into presidency. You should know how it's designed for your own country and how it protects the politician that's corrupt. It protects him, not the people. And for you not to, you say you don't know the facts about that. How would you go into presidency without knowing exactly how that bouncing ball connects to not helping the people? That's my first question. My second question is, you say this, the citizens, the people has kind of stopped complaining in your posture, roll your eyelids, and you looking and you smiling and you jigging, back and forth in your seat. How do you connect as a president with the people without hearing their complaints?
Well, I hope I understood you very well. Let me start with the second one. The issue of the Sahel is new. It's not old. ECOWAS is old because it's what we have. And so you can't blame me for not knowing an initiative that is just really, really current, really new, and actually still developing. And so I'll be playing it in pure ignorance to claim that the alternative to ECOWAS, which is actually relatively new, with the emergence of the president of Burkina Faso and co. So it is still developing. To be honest with you, it's still developing, and it's still very, very clear, very, very early, to know the merit and the demerit. Secondly, how can I connect with people? Again, I think some of people on the forum know my role already. During the election, if you follow my election, that's why most people
Hold on, you said knowing your rules. Is that what you just said? You
excuse me.
said the people. You said the people know my rules. Did you say that?
No. I said they know my roots.
Oh, okay.
I connect with my roots. I call myself a village person. I call myself a town person. I'm not a city person, and I connect to my roots. And I can tell you that my roots, it's again, it is a short program to begin to say what one can do. But I grew up. I grew up from a family of 10. My mother had 7 boys and 3 girls. I'm the last of the 10. At the age of 12, I'm already a manager for my mom, going to the market, going to stream, going to fetch firewood. I didn't come from a city. I came from an African country, an African village, where being a last born means being like the baby of the family. You run errands. You go to firewood. You fetch your firewood.
Yeah, I was 1 out of 14, so I get it.
So when I said roots, yeah, I'm connected, and that's why my homecoming. Just a few days ago, I offered scholarship to the primary school students who cannot who
But
their
that's
parents.
not explaining how to connect with the people about their complaints because that will be your job.
No, I think I beg to disagree with you. I mean, there's no set of rules cast in stone how you should connect with your people. I disagree with you totally on that. Everybody have a method, and again, respectfully, I've been able to represent 30 million Nigerians in the diaspora for 4 years, and my representation is still to date. Something can also confirm that it's still to date as one of the best leaders on the diaspora so far. And so, both at home and abroad, I have been able to connect with my roots. I've been able to understand the people. I've been able to understand their concern, and I've been carrying up advocacy for the people, from youth employment to youth training, to women equality, to gender equality, and the rest of them. I've done that, and I don't think I have any apology for not doing for doing that. Of course, I can still do more, but I can tell you on my own that I think I'm on the right track, and I think I'm doing the best I can to connect to my people. Of course,
Okay, one last thing, and one more. I swear, I promise. You keep saying I can do this, but my question was the people's complaint. but you keep putting yourself in front of the people
That's
to
not
me.
true. That's not true. D, I disagree with you. I think one of the problem we are having, and I think you basically represent that kind of problem, that you assume that you know the Africans more than the Africans. You assume that you're in diaspora and you know more about the African continent than the Africans. I think we also have to come down from that high horse. It is something I've experienced from the diaspora. I'm a Nigerian. I go to Nigeria almost every 6 months. I go to the village. I listen to the people's problem and I address them. And I think I will not accept it that somebody probably who has not been to Africa and who doesn't understand the people will tell me how I can connect to my people. So I disagree with you on that. Of course, there's room for learning, but I can tell you when it comes to my people, I know how to connect to my people and my people know me. Well, I think we agree from the beginning that the Western form of democracy has failed Africa. We both agree on that. And so, if we're going to have a system of democracy that give room for participation of military in democracy, well, if it's going to help Africa, my fear is that the military. Exactly. Thank God that you mentioned that. That's why I said my fear is that militaries are not trained to govern. What you have in Mali or like Traore and few of them like Thomas Sankara are exception to the cases. And so we also have to be very if like I said, fundamentally, the military are not trained to govern fundamentally, and so it's like asking if the law of gravity will not hold. It will always hold. Of course, we have exception to the rules from time to time. So again, I believe that the Western form of education, democracy has failed Africa, and we should also look back to kind of come up with our own form of democracy. And if we do that, probably that will give rise to the candidates the Burkina Faso's president that can do better, even on civilian uniform.
Well, I got questions too.
Yeah, I'm there. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Daddy. No.
Thank you, my brother. You see, my question comes to first of all to your party. ADC, last election in ADC, Kachuku, imagine as presidential candidate of your party was questionable. And people say because of his connection from his brother, former minister. How was the primary? Was the primary free and fair and transparent that emerged Kachuku as presidential candidate
Yes.
against the former deputy CBN governor?
Yes. It was
That is
free.
one. Second question. Let me ask the two questions so you can answer all of them together.
All right.
Second question. What actually is the party doing about electoral reform? Because the political parties are one of the problems and the INEC is another problem. What is their party doing for the electoral reform in Nigeria? That is the second question. The last question, but not the least. The coalition of ADC with other cabals that are in different parties that came to the ADC now for a coalition. What is the fate of the old members in ADC and the fate of the new ones that came together now to form coalition with you people? So
Okay.
what they are afraid, that is my three questions for now. Thank you.
Let me try. Let me hope I'll remember the three. I wanted to pick them one by one. Let me hope I remember. Let me start from the last one. And your concern is real. Anybody who tried to play the concern down is not being honest. All ADC members, So far, being a member of National Executive Council and also with a connection to the grassroots, so far we are holding the ground. What do I mean we are holding the ground? We want to sit down on the table and see that people are allowed to do what they have to do based on capacity rather than on connection. And so we also have to look at the issue of fairness, the issue of equity. Of course, as Africans, like I mentioned, and even as a political party, if if a family member comes to join you, you will not say that because the family member is coming to join you that you are going to be winners take it all, that you are not going to, find one or two responsibility for them. So the idea is that we need to sit down together and to see how we can also, master this assignment, that it is done in a way that is fairness for everybody, and it is, so far, I think I will give kudos to the current interim chairman, Senator David Mark. Immediately, we had the announcement that the whole executive has been dissolved, to give rise to the new executive. But of course, in his own wisdom, at least as of yesterday, he's not of the agreement that all the chairmen of the states should go. He said that they should remain. They are the owner of the party. And then we'll have to discuss one after the other to see exactly how we are going to address that. And so that answers that question. Your second question, if I can remember, is about electoral reform. If you remember, we championed the electoral reforms, including the direct transmission of results. It was implemented, but along the line, the ghost server disappeared, and brought us to where we are today. We will keep advocating. We are not going to stop. We will keep advocating so that the reforms that we actually put in place will eventually work. And I think, like anywhere in the world, if you look at the United States of America, we're supposed to be the oldest democracy in the world. You can see the issues and problems they're having, where a one man is behaving like an emperor or like a king. But this is one of the best democracies in the world. So there will always be challenges. The question is the willingness, to be able to address those challenges. And I think the willingness is there. We will. I mean, if you look at every political party, we have the different caucus. We have the left wing, the right wing, the center wing. I can tell you that the wing that I belongs to, which is the progressive wing, are bent to make sure that the ADC-DN did not lose their soul, the ADC-DN did not lose their DNA, and we're going to fight whatever it takes to make sure that the ADC retain the principles that made it the bride of the nation that every political party wants to join. So I can assure you that the progressive wing will continue to do that. On the issue of the primaries, I was in Abeokuta. I was not only in Abeokuta, I was involved in the primaries. I was involved as a delegate. I was involved in the planning as a national executive committee member. Like everywhere in the world, like take football for instance, you have a referee who moderates a football, and if somebody with like Maradona scores with his hand, and the referee did not see that, unfortunately, they will count it as a goal, but in the sense that that goal was called mischievously or with a trick. And as long as the referees and the umpire did not see it, then it becomes difficult, to offer a penalty, so to say. I think the election, the primaries in Abeokuta was very, very transparent, was very, very free. There's no two ways about it. But I think there was some sharp practices that was employed, which we did not know, which was actually part of the political process, going to different states, meeting with the state delegates in secret, having a pact with them. Whether something changed hands or not, I cannot confirm that because I did not see that. But definitely something happened behind the scene, which we later knew. And so the delegates, trooped in, to vote for a particular candidate based on the promises that was made to them. Of course, those promises were not kept, and they will learn about those promises later, so to say. So I would say that the process was free, but whether everybody plays to the rules transparently, it's a different question entirely. But whether it was delegates were casted in an open ballot system, you knew who voted for who, and at the end of the result was count. So there was no manipulation about that. I can tell you that for sure. Absolutely agree with you. I mean, part of our request and part of the reform and advocacy process is that if you look at my statement after the election, I actually said that I personally lost faith in INEC under the leadership of the current chairman, and we advocated for his removal. That he's still there is a mystery to so many of us after so many failed elections. But we are hoping and we are praying that by 2027 he's not going to be there, and we're going to put all the necessary pressure.
Host, can you give me just 1 second? Host, can you give me just 1 second? Just one question, please, before I put on. My brother, for the last election, you contested for senatorial post against Ned Nwoko, and they lost and took the loss with all your faith. What is your opinion about the judicial system in Nigeria? Because we have not seen where the chief judge is being sworn in outside the Supreme Court, except in my country, Nigeria, where the former chief justice, before the former chief justice, who was sworn in and out in Aso Rock instead of the Supreme Court, where he's supposed to be sworn. And now the politicians have already hijacked our judicial system. It is no more the common man's last hope. It is now the bidder wins each other. What would be your take if you are, like my sister asked you, if you step into the system or step into in a shoe where you have power to correct or to add something? Just your opinion, please. Thank you very much.
You are very, very right. Like I said, it's not a secret. Like I said it again, and I can say it again that I've lost faith on the judiciary. They're supposed to be the fate of the last, the hope of the common man. In Nigeria, that has not been the case, unfortunately. We are still putting the pressure is still on. If you look at certain bills that have been recently passed by the House, normally the process you have before now is that they will swear in the president, and then the litigation will start. And then, of course, once you are the president, you control everywhere, like we're seeing now. And at the end of the day, one cannot get a free justice, so to say. So now, at least because of the pressures and so many of the things we've been advocating, a bill has been passed that they have to exhaust all the presidential petition before the president is sworn in. So at least it's a step in the right direction, in spite of our National Assembly not doing what they should do. But at least on this one can say that we'll give them kudos that they've done that. So these are the little processes and little reforms we are bringing in, and hoping that more of them are going to come before 2027 to make sure that those concerns that you have are very much addressed.
Okay, let me see if I can squish them together, some of them. Okay. First of all, I know we talked about the Sahel states and how well they're doing, right? So if they have already laid out a model that is working well, who is the person that determines that you must operate under democracy? Or can you, like other countries around the world, have dictators and they're doing fine? Who decided that Nigeria must be a democracy?
Well, it's not Kenneth Bandy who is deciding. It's the Constitution of Nigeria that is deciding, and it is the people of Nigeria that can decide otherwise, whether they will still operate under that system or not. So I think it's left for the Nigerian population, the Nigerian populace, to determine that. It's not the government, it's not Kenneth Bandy, and it's not Samson. It's the Nigerian.
Okay, but already you call yourself working under this quote fake democracy. Whose decision was that? Was that the people of Nigeria, or was that the last person that owned Nigeria? The British, the French? Did these people decide that you should and have to live under democracy?
No, I think we have to also be very fair and constructive in our. We have issue with the Western form of democracy, but it doesn't mean that the 250 million people in Nigeria are stupid people. They are not stupid people. They understand that we
That
have a
wasn't the question.
we have a well, I'm answering you that you've answered that question. You asked that question 2 3 times with emphasis, and I said that Nigerian people understand that our democracy is flawed. Our Nigerian people understand that they are working as much as possible to change democracy. You don't change something in a vacuum. You don't press a button and a country of 250 million people change from A to B. It's a process. It's a process. America took 100 years to get to their democracy, like so many other countries in the world. So, in as much as I am very upset with the democracy, with the system of government, in as much as I'm very upset with the leaders we have, there is a process in everything. We can't press a button and everything gets sorted out in one day. And that is why we are engaged. That is why I'm engaged. That's why you are engaged. That's why something is engaged. And we're all looking for solutions to make sure that we get what is good for Africa and what is good for our people. And so I don't think we are also, so that British or America will just press a button and say we should do that and everybody is doing that. Of course, we have issues with those form of democracy, and we're doing our best to make sure that we reform that.
Okay, and prior to colonization, there was no democracy there, right?
I don't get you.
You know that Nigeria was colonized, right?
Of course, yes.
Okay, so before colonization, people were ruling themselves. They didn't have outsiders from other European countries coming in telling them that here's a constitution, you need to vote. They didn't do that.
With your respect, nobody is telling Nigeria what to do and what not to
I'm
do.
talking
Yes,
about prior to
we have lobby
colonization.
groups, madam, with due respect, we have lobby groups, yes. We have, imperialism through there are so many instruments like IMF and the rest of them, yes. But no, sorry, nobody is going to come and tell 250 million people in Nigeria to go one way or the other. It is the people who are going to make that decision.
All right, so prior to colonization, you had a different form. Well, I didn't finish my question. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was interested in what she was saying. Um, Sorry, no, it's okay. I can. If she wants to, you see, because for me, somebody's got control of Nigeria. I hear what he's saying. I hear what your colleague is saying. But I live in the UK, and we have a Nigerian community just up the road here, 2 miles up here. Dagenham, it's a place called Dagenham. It's like a little Nigerian, nice, pleasant, kind, lovely, unity group of people, well qualified, intelligent, nice people. Then we look over at the Nigerians in the motherland, the beautiful Nigerians, and they've got oil under their ground that could last for, I don't know, till Africa finishes its grounds, till Africa wears out, right? And yet the Nigerians are still in debt. We have to stop these lines where we just try to make a not you. I'm not going to say I don't believe in attacking people just like that, right? So let's talk about the principle here. The Europeans are living off Africa. They are. I'm telling you, they're living off Africa. They are. We have their qualifications. We have everything as Africans. We've got our qualification. We've got everything. But so, what is it that Nigeria is doing wrong? They're doing something wrong because you're still in debt. And who are you in debt to? You're not in debt to the Caribbean. You're not in debt to Black Africans in the UK. You're not in debt to us. You're not in debt to the diaspora. We send $96 billion to the African continent in 2023. You can look this up yourself because I know how you can search these things, right? You know what I'm saying. So we drain out Europe as best we can back into Africa, but they're robbing you, so we can't keep up. We can't keep up. So now, my African Nigerian friends, you're doing something wrong in that country of yours, that beautiful country, because you have so much oil and everybody's in Africa, not just Nigeria. I'm not going to be picking too much on Nigeria. It's all over. They're just taking from us while we squabble over politics. And as you just said, we are pollsters that are wrecking the rights of 200 million Africans in Nigeria to have a voice properly. They're cheating, and they're cheating for the Europeans because somebody's giving them bribery money or something like that. You know how I know that? Because the Europeans are the worst bribery people the world has ever seen. So that's how. You learnt it from them, right? So I know all that. I'm not in love with Europe. I was born in Europe, but I'm not in love with Europe. Please. So the question is, what are we going to do with Nigeria to get rid of these people that are stealing from us? I
Well,
want that $4 billion from
yes, I think,
Tinubu. I want you to put it into the infrastructure of the
yeah.
wonderful Nigerian people.
Yeah, I think we're actually repeating ourselves. You're right. Again, nobody will tell you that we love the situation not only in Nigeria and the African continent. African continent is sitting on a ton of natural resources from Congo to Ghana to Nigeria to Kenya to Ivory Coast, and we think we should have been doing what we're doing better. But like I said, I agree with you. I'm not attacking anybody. What can I do as Kenneth Bandy? What I am going to do as Kenneth Bandy is that I'm leaving my comfort zone in Germany, where I am here for 30 years, where I'm having the best of life, to go to Nigeria, to go to the streets, to go to the villages, to tell people that they need to sit up and do the right thing, to tell people that they must not sell their vote, to tell people that they should bring people or they should support people who have the good of their community in the mind. And that's what we can do. We can educate the people. We can begin to make sure that we begin to change those people who are answerable, in quotes, to people outside their constituency, and begin to make sure that we bring people who are going to answer to their people and make sure that they're welfare. That's the only thing we can do. Again, like I said, it's going to be the question of a soup. It's a paralysis of analysis. We have an issue in Africa. We both agree. We identify that, and they said half of the problem identifying it is half solved. We agree that's a problem. How do we solve it? It's people like me and you to go back to our roots, begin to join hands with those people there to make sure that we change the status quo so that Africa can take its place. I don't see any other way out of it.
So what can we do in the diaspora? What we're not in your Nigeria. We're not there. What can we do to help you?
You mentioned Nigerian community. I know every single leader in the Nigerian community in UK. I know the I know the Nido in UK. I know the Ohanese and Igbo. I can tell you because I'm a grassroots Nigerian in the diaspora leader, and most of the people in the UK, like you just mentioned, in the next 1 week. Well, I'm actually going to that. That in the next 1 week, we have what we call a week in Nigeria. A week in Nigeria and for Nigeria. It's about the diasporans in UK and all over Nigeria, not only in UK and all over the world, going back to Nigeria to give back to the community, not to the government, to give back to the community. In terms of ICTC, digital training, healthcare, doctors, and the rest of them. So we have some of them who are also, doing also politics. So probably most of us in the diaspora are not from Nigeria or cannot go to Nigeria, can identify any of these progressive organizations and see how you can support them with your resources, with your knowledge, with your advice, with your consulting, and the rest of them, and so that you can have they say that your network is your net worth. So if people have people like you who are grounded in the system, who understand how the system is being manipulated, and so you identify a group or an organization that you can advise, give them some tips so that when they go back to Nigeria, they can implement that. I think that's how we can all put our heads together, not only in Nigeria but also in different African countries.
Okay, so where did I get my contacts from?
Through Samson, you can reach out to me. and then I can give you all the necessary contact in the UK that you need to have.
Yeah, if you do that, please. And I want to see Africa just rise
Thank you,
where
Mark.
they belong.
I appreciate your concern.
Yeah, yeah. No problem. No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a question for him. And that is, I just like to ask a series of questions so that I understand better exactly what you're saying, right? So that I'm clear, right? You said in the previous conversation that you represent the diaspora,
Yeah.
right? You said that
Correct.
somebody what Hill,
Correct.
you
That's
got to
correct.
put your mute on, bro. Hill. Okay. You said that you represent the diaspora. The diaspora means, the definition of it means the communities that are outside of the origin culture, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you also said that you've represented them for 4 years, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And the diaspora itself, it expands much longer than you actually represented them, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so some of the diaspora that you're talking about, many of them would probably, you said 13 million people. Did you not say that?
20 million, 20 to 30 million Nigerians in
Okay,
diaspora.
so
Yes.
20
That's
million
correct.
Nigerians that are in the diaspora. That means around the planet, correct?
That's correct.
That means that the huge population of that they have in China, right?
That's correct.
The huge population that they have in North America
That's
and
correct.
in the United States, and as well as the huge population that they have in Brazil,
That's correct.
In South America, right?
That's correct.
And some of those diasporas have been there for generations, correct?
That's correct.
And some of them probably don't speak the language because of the fact that they've been there for generations, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the question that I have for you, right, is this right here. When the young lady started to question some of the things that you said, one of the comments that you made is that I don't believe that somebody that has never traveled to Africa should be able to talk about the condition of Africans. And I say to you this, sir.
That's not correct.
Hold on, because
That's
you
not
spoke
correct.
and you said it.
That is not correct.
Okay, so that you didn't say, so you didn't say to her that she shouldn't be speaking on African politics when she's probably never traveled to the continent. You didn't say that?
That's not correct.
You didn't say that?
That's not correct.
Okay. Now, let's go further because I just want to make sure. When you say that you represent the diaspora, that's what you said, right?
That's correct.
That means that the people that you represent, some of them have never been to Africa, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so when you single out someone and you say, "Well, I'm not going to have a conversation with you," or when you speak about something that has to do with Africa when you've never went back, I go every 6 months. That's what you said, correct?
That's not correct.
Oh, so you didn't say you went every 6 months, right?
You see, you are taking it out of context. Now
No,
the
no, no, no,
question.
no, no.
Wait. Now you ask a question, I should answer, or you want to speak
Okay,
alone?
I just want to make sure that I got the facts right, so I don't say something that's wrong. That's the point that
Absolutely.
I'm making.
That's why I tell you when you're correct, and I tell you when you're not correct.
Okay, go ahead.
My answer was that she was claiming I did not have roots with my people. And I said, no, that's not correct. That I travel home every 6 months and I connect with my people. And she was telling me that the way I connect with my people is not the right way. I said, she is wrong. That you cannot stay here in diaspora and tell me who visit my village every 3 months how I should relate with my village people. That's what I said. So when you want
Now
to
hold on.
quote me correctly.
Hold on, sir. Hold on, sir. I've listened to you very intently, and I'm just saying that I think that when you listen to a conversation as a person that wants to be elected, you're remiss in your duties if you're not following the conversation word for word and you understand exactly how the context of the conversation happened. And what I remember is you said she had an opinion about how the infrastructure of Nigeria was running. And when she criticized it, you told her, well, you're not
You are being,
even a
I'm
part
sorry,
of it.
I'm not going to sit here and allow you to lecture me because you are taking it out of context. You cannot tell me what I did not say. I was very specific, and the specificity was that I traveled to my village, and she said, and I'll remind you that the modus operandi I use to communicate to my people is not the right one. And I told her, how dare you tell me how I communicate with my persons, my people,
That's
when you
correct.
have not been there?
No, you're both wrong.
My
You're
statement.
both
Yeah,
wrong.
you.
Can I neutrally
Oh,
And I'm standing by
say
that.
can I
hold on,
neutrally
Hill.
say what went
Hold
on?
on, Hill. Hold on, Hill.
Wait,
Hold
wait.
on for one
You
second. Hold
quipped.
on
You
for one
quipped.
second.
You
Let me
quipped
just say
and said, huh, these diasporan, this is what I talk about with these diasporan, act like they know about Africa more than the African.
that's correct.
I
That's what he said. I was going to
immediately,
get into
I
that. Hold
immediately
on.
comment and said, politics is not Africa.
Hold on, Hill, because I just want to
No,
make sure that I said it
let me
because
say,
I
let
know
me
for
say
a
this.
100% fact that you listened to that.
Honestly speaking, wait,
I just want to say that.
I'm not holding on. Like I said, I am an African, been to African, serve in Africa, going to my village. You cannot tell me the right approach to relate to my people. This is a fact.
You can. I'm sorry, sir.
You can
Make that argument when you say that you are a
you can accept it,
representation of the
you can accept
diaspora.
it or not. That I'm a representative does not mean I don't have my own ideology. I don't have my
Hold
own,
on,
my
hold
own
on.
way
See, but now
of
you're
looking
double
at it.
talking. Now
So,
you're
so,
double talking, and
so
that's
the
politician talk.
question is, and I repeat myself, and I repeat it
Okay.
again, that my reply to her is specific for her telling me that the way I relate to my people is not the right approach, period. And I said, no, you cannot stay in the diaspora and tell me that. And honestly speaking, if you want me to tell you that, the truth is that a lot of people do that. Yes, not everybody, but a lot of people do that. You can't tell me I'm not relating to Nigerians very well or my village very well when you.
I personally don't think that that's what she said, but I also want to say to you when
That was
you
what I
say,
understood, sir. That was what I
okay, but
understood,
that's
sir.
fine, that's fine. You can win that one. What I'm saying to you is that when you say that you are representation, uh-huh. Okay. When you say that you are a representation of 13 million people, right? Who probably out of that 13 million people, your hubris says that they know who you are, but the 13 million people may say that they don't know who you are. So that in itself is really funny to me. But it seemed like you picked out her accent because she was American and said that. That means that somehow you believe that if we speak about the politics that go on the continent, somehow we don't have a right to speak about it because you know
That's not.
more than us. And that's what you said.
Let me explain. Let me
That's
tell you
what you
something.
said.
Let me tell you something you don't know. You see,
What do I don't know?
yes, I want to explain something that you don't know. Of course, that's what
What
I
do
want to
I
tell
don't
you.
know? Tell me.
In Paris, in France, in 2012, 2013, the African Union, African Diaspora was formed. It was formed because the African Union recognized that we have Africans in the diaspora, those people who have been out of the continent for years, who can contribute more to the African development. And that is why the African Sixth Region was formed by the African Union. I was one of the initiators of that, and I presented the paper in Paris. And so what I want to say that I recognize the African population in the diaspora and have worked with them since 2013. What I am saying that what I specifically said that you, Mark or anybody, cannot tell me that what I'm doing with my people in Nigeria is the
But
wrong approach.
you
Sir,
When
represent
you
the
have not
people
this
been
is
that
there,
your
are outside of
definition. This is your
Nigeria.
definition
Hold
of
on,
and
the
I
hold
have
on.
no
You
diaspora,
apology about
just
that.
represent the
African
people that are
nationals.
outside of
If
Nigeria. So who are you to tell somebody that's outside of Nigeria what they can do when you are outside of Nigeria yourself?
Well,
That to me is being a hypocrite.
you see, again, well, a typical example.
And furthermore, let me just
A
say this, right?
typical
Because
example of
I heard what you
when we
just said.
experience.
The diaspora was not created in 2013. There have been people that go back to the 60s that talk about the diaspora. Even the word diaspora wasn't created in
We said
2013. So you're remiss in your duty when you start saying that.
African diaspora. You see, that's the problem. You are very selective. African Union, African diaspora sixth region was formed. I didn't say African diaspora was formed. So please follow the conversation and be a little bit less emotional, okay?
Okay. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, but Afro, don't protect him. If he makes a statement, he needs to be able to stand on it.
Thank you, Afrobit. With me first, I'd like to say congratulations on setting up the ADC shadow government. Yes, I'm correct.
Yes,
And
sir.
you know politically what a shadow government does. So it shadows the policies of government. Now, here's a thing. With me, I'd like to stay on your manifesto in relation to the ground. On education, it is one of your key points on your manifesto
Yes, sir.
in terms of improving it. The government just turned around in 2025, I'll repeat, put in a 7.8, if I'm not mistaken, budget. Yeah, that is nothing. It is a water on top of the ocean
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the amount of people. We've got 10 million children that are and cannot access a primary school. Yes.
Absolutely.
Here is my question. If you said earlier on how we were going to put in on health, yeah, because the problem with manifestos is we take from an invisible bucket that does not have a budget, and we put in these policies in the invisible budget where we can take, and it replenishes itself in the manifesto. Yet now, when you're shadowing government, you have to stay on a fixed budget. Yes. Now, how would you, as a party, improve the 7.8% budget, seeing that on the 5.9 you have turned around and listed down what you are going to use as mechanisms to improve that? How would you improve now the 7.8 education budget without pointing out on the other aspects that you turned around and said you're going to draw on? Because that's what the government in Nigeria is actually having problems with.
Listen, you're very, very
That's my
fast.
question to you.
I would say respect. You seem to be a financial man. You seem to have your figures very well. Um, don't forget that I'm actually not running for the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm actually running for a Senate, which is a lawmaker, and then which put certain of these figures. Actually, I'm relating because I'm going to ask like the kind of questions you're asking in the parliament, how we're going to do that. So I totally agree with you, and so I won't pretend that I have all the answers to that, because we might probably have experts in education who might be able to answer those questions. But holistically looking at, I totally agree with you that the budget that the current federal government is allocating to education is not enough, and I totally think that they should do it otherwise. But what kind of probably idea I will contribute? My contribution will be, we are in a digital world, so to say, and we have a lot of programs that basically run now on online digitally. And so my contribution to probably the educational progress in my constituency, not in Nigeria, and of course, if the Nigerian like it to adopt that, the project I would like to is that I will focus more on digital education, where we are going to have the infrastructure the one you have to use to build infrastructure like the classrooms, like the paying teachers and the rest of them could be channeled into a digital form of education where a lot of people can get educated, staying from probably from their laptop and from their iPads and the rest of them. So probably I will channel a lot of money, working into getting digital equipment for the student rather than building structures and the rest of them. So by so doing, we might basically from the mega resources we have on education, we can channel it properly that we can get quality education, with the mega resources we have. So I will say that I appreciate your in-depth analysis, especially with the figures on education. But like I said, I'm not the presidential candidate, so I don't have an overview of all the departments in the government. But if I am able, if I'm elected as a senator for my constituency, this is how I'm going to approach it.
Big man, sorry, a follow up. The reason why I'm asking is because you've got a manifesto that does not look at on a province side. You look at on a holistic national side. Yeah. And again, this is why I congratulated you in the beginning about your shadow government. That means now you're shadowing government on that level. You are analyzing the policies that the government is putting, and you are putting counters to it. Yes. And I'm saying to you, if we are going to move with education, because it's one of your 8 points that you have to turn around and improve education, because you have seen that education becomes the foundation to what? To economical improvement down the years. I'm saying, how would you now, as a political party, with that position of shadowing, actually benefit the children and the parents of the children that are going through this education system that is so many holes based on finance? You've got a lack of educational material. You've got less access to digital platforms, meaning that there is no internet where the schools are supposed to be. There are very few schools with internet whereby the kids can enjoy the digital bit. Yeah, you've got less payment of educators. Yet Nigeria produces educators. That means the ones that are in the job are paid less anyway. You now, as a political party that is hoping that it would actually in the next election have, by what it is saying on its manifestos and in its policies, find itself in power. Because you never know, Nigerians, as you said, are very educated people. They might choose you. Now, I'm trying to examine the policies in detail beyond the 8 points, the depth of the 8 points, to say, have you put down step by step on how to improve this thing that is so crucial in putting in a good economy? And that's what I'm trying to understand from you as a party.
I agree with you. I think we both, at least good enough, we both share a common agreement on the need to to have a digital presence or digital education that will help to lessen the educational burden. But like I said, I will be honest with you to say that even if we have a shadow government, we have ministers who are going to be probably like the Minister of Education or Minister of Finance. So it's the Minister of Education, somebody who is shadowing the Minister of Education can be able to give you a detailed analysis of exactly the question you asked. But like I mentioned, the essence of the need for digital education is very, very important. The need for making the educational materials is very, very important. And we think that with the digital education, with setting up for digital campuses and the rest of them, we will be able to bring down the cost of financing education and make it probably affordable to a lot of people. But in detail, point by point analysis, I won't be able to tell you that because I'm not the expert on education.
Okay, the last one. Can I give you? Oh, sorry, last 30 seconds.
No,
30
no, no,
seconds
no.
on
I've
the
got to
Afrobeat.
go.
30
I've got to
seconds.
go, and I've got a quick question.
No.
Citizen, contain
Yes,
yourself. Contain yourself, citizen.
One,
Mine is not really a question. I want to make my contribution because I've been listening in for a while now. And I want to start from where the last speaker spoke. And he did ask about how we are going to improve our education, looking at the meager budget that we're doing. The answer to that is simple: waste. The answer is so simple: waste. And I'll give you 3 things. This present government used 21 billion to renovate the house of the vice president, used 5 billion to buy a yacht, added 7 trillion. Listen, hear the figure again: 7 trillion budget padding in the 2025 budget. Those 3 items can change the educational system, change the health system of Nigeria if used. So the problem we have is not what we talk, we don't talk ideas. For the records, I'm a supporter of Peter Obi, and one of the reasons why I support him unapologetically is because he has the capacity, as a man who have done that before in the States, can come in, cut waste, and channel resources to where the resources are needed. And that is why some of us will return to Nigeria to campaign for him, even at great risk. You understand? So our problem, we all know our problem. We can come here, speak English, talk big. No. Our problem is waste. Once we cut waste, corruption, we begin to make progress. So we can speak all the grammar we want to speak. That's our problem as a people. And anybody who doesn't understand that, then he's just wasting everybody's time. Then I want to go again to one speaker that talked about how can the diaspora help in terms of influencing what happens back home. I can tell you today there are no direct foreign investment going to Nigeria except the remittance, the diaspora remittance. That's the highest figure. I'm planning to send money home to some cousin today or tomorrow. Those are adults who are able to vote. In this election, they will choose either to getting help from me or going out and campaign for a candidate that can deliver. That's the influence we have. And every other Nigerian has it because we send money home virtually on a daily basis because people are stranded back home. So I can't keep giving you money and I tell you, go, this is a man that can make you stop asking me for money and you not do it. No, it's not going to happen. So there's a lot the diasporans can do. I'm telling you a direct impact that we can do in determining the next election. So I welcome this idea of discussing our situation in Nigeria, but honestly, our situation is pathetic. Yesterday, I'll give another instance. I spoke with a friend who was getting an agricultural loan from one of the industrial bank. Is it a bond? The bank is called bond, but the loan is given from Ministry of Trade and Industry. So I was discussing with him on the phone. He is to be given 700 million. He has a poultry farm to support his farm. They went there, inspected his farm, did all the paperwork, and they told him for him to access this money, he has to first of all give them 75 million first. He has not gotten the money. They're telling him to give him 75 million first. Then, when he gives them the 75 million, as soon as the money is disbursed, he will now surrender 300 million out of 700 million. What is it going to use? Okay, what is left for him? Technically, he's telling you that they don't even want you to pay back the loan. It's all a sham. That's what the civil servants do in Nigeria. So it's pathetic. So we as a people, even those who are not educated in the village suffering, they must come to the realization that they need to change their situation. Every country is not people in the diaspora that went to change it. They were indigents in those countries. Any country you want to talk about on earth that sat down and said, enough, we need to change this. It doesn't matter whether you are educated. It doesn't matter whether you're the most stupid among. Your situation should tell you your reality. I yield back. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, my brother, and it's always a pleasure. I just got my new account, my old account, so I came back on this thing. Yeah, I returned. Yeah, now it's always a pleasure to have someone who holds or who has potential to hold some level of political decision making portfolio. Before I ask him a question, it's a leading question, but one of the major problem with Nigeria is corruption. And as you have so much vision and everyone have ideas, these ideas can come to fruition unless it can't come to fruition unless you deal with corruption. As a politician or potential politician who might lead the country or lead some part of your constituency, what are you doing to enable some level of transparency in the system of government, or your contribution towards that process to enable some level of transparency in the system of government that all Nigeria can use as a catalyst to transform Nigeria into a more transparent state of affairs? That's my question for now.
Thank you very, very much. That's a very, very important question. The issue of corruption, in Nigeria is endemic. And then, one time president of Nigeria said that if corruption doesn't kill Nigeria, if Nigeria doesn't kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria. And I agree with him. My understanding or my take on fighting corruption is going to be on multifacets. Apart from the government regulations, apart from the ICPC, the EFCC, and the rest of them, I think we should begin to place and put in place an initiative that actually discourages corruption. Let me give two clear initiative we did in the diaspora as part of our contribution to fighting corruption. Working together with an institution called ICPC with them. The MOE is that if we notice any corrupt officials in Nigeria, we should play the whistle blow function by reporting them to all the embassies. Of course, most people will criticize that the same embassies you are reporting them internationally are also part of the people who are actually supporting them, which to some extent is also correct. But at least identifying them and shaming them, reporting them to the international organizations, denying them visas from coming abroad, trying to trace their loot wherever they invest it in the diaspora to make sure that that didn't happen. It's a part of a process. But the second process is also trying to have a kind of a smart government or smart system that try to address this issue of corruption. What do I mean by that? For instance, if you have a parking slot, just to give a very basic example, and you have the manager of the place, you have the workers and the rest of them, they're supposed to collect probably 10 naira for every car that comes in there. Unfortunately, they will come and probably give 2 or 3 naira rather than the 10 naira, and from that 3 naira they will pocket it in their pocket without actually making an accounting for them. Now you see, everybody agreed $1, for an average Nigeria in terms of GDP and the rest of them. So you always try to make a sharp way of surviving. So if we have this system digitalized, that you have to use your card to pack your card, that your card is actually, you put the card, it goes straight into the government coffer, then of course it will be very difficult for that system to be manipulated. So first we have to digitalize our economy, digitalize so many things that we normally do with cash transfer to make sure that at least those pretty corrupt practices are eliminated. Of course, the issue of transparency and accountability. One of the problems we have in Nigeria, like my brother, the last speaker, said that it's not about new ideas. It's not about bringing out new ideas in this country. We have a lot of ideas enough. It's about the willingness to implement even the little ones we have. If in Nigeria we have a lot of, I mean, one of my sisters said it in one of the discussion. You have people who are building castles in Dubai, in UK, in Germany, but we cannot be able to account for their source of income. And yet these individuals are giving chieftaincy taxes in their villages and towns. We're not helping matters. So we have to hold people for their hold people accountable for the way they make their money. Give account for that. And any individuals found corrupt, should face should face the consequences. Unfortunately, again, our judicial is not working. So it's a holistic overhauling of the system if we want to fight corruption, because it has to. If you have to block it in one other place, it will also come up in another place. So we need to fight corruption holistically. And again, having a system that is accountable, we make the difference. Just recently, the chairman of the current political party said that when we are trying to complain that Nigeria is going to a one-party system, he said that after all, China runs one-party system and the country have been doing very well. And somebody reminded him that if you are found to be a corrupt officer in China, you face the firing squad. And so you are trying to compare a system that is actually zero tolerance of corruption with the one party system with a Nigeria that can actually, steal government money and get away with it. So I think leadership is very important. Overhauling the structure is very important, and also introducing necessary, policies that make corruption very, very unattractive in Nigeria.
Yes, can I say? I mean, I've been listening. Yeah, I have a question very similar to my first two questions. Even though you explained how you would deal with existing, or if you should have ECOWAS, should I analyze it? I really think that it is fair that ECOWAS doesn't work. All right, I get on to the next question. The current arrangement with foreign investors, especially as it relates to the oil and mineral industry in Nigeria. Addressing you as Mr. President again, you won, rightfully won, President now. Would you immediately review and rearrange current agreements or arrangements with foreign
Neil, we're
multi?
not hear you, Neil. Neil,
Exactly. Yeah, I can
fix
hear you.
up, Neil.
Sorry.
We're not hear you. Nothing.
All right. Okay, you hear me now?
Yes, it's better now.
Okay. What I'm saying is, on the first question I asked you about ECOWAS, you said that you would have to review if you should have to leave, whether you would leave. But my second question is, on the current arrangements with the multinational corporations as it relates specifically to the oil industry and the mineral industries in Nigeria, would you, as a president of Nigeria, immediately address and deal with those industries from the current agreements or arrangements of operation?
Hmm.
What?
Yes, that's a very interesting question. Again, I don't want to dodge it, but like I said, I am not running as a president. But if you ask me, I will do. I mean, this my administration is very complex. What are the international obligations? Do we have some contracts we have with that they can take us to international court of arbitration and actually get away with it? So one has to examine all the necessary contracts in place. But yes, anything that will basically better the life of the people. Again, leadership is about making life of your people better. I think in Nigeria they have what we call the carbon act, if I'm not mistaken, which means that the indigenous inputs most of those corporations must take a certain percentage of that. And if you look at most of the big companies like the Dangote now, who is having the biggest refinery in Nigeria, and other Orlando Oil also, who is actually involved in also mineral exploration, both upstream and downstream. We have a very very robust Nigerian percentage in that, and so one has to understand the intricacies of the relationship within the local content from those companies as well as the international content. And again, like my brother from Nigeria spoke last time, it's about leadership and it's about corruption. If we have great leaders who can holistically examine the obligation we have with this international community, and one discover that it is not in the interest of Nigeria, as a president of Nigeria, I will terminate it immediately. But again, like I said, giving a holistic answer will not really, be much helpful. It probably will be playing to the gallery to say, yes, I'll come and I will do that without knowing the facts. Again, we have a very robust local content in most of these international corporations, and one has to see that, if our parts are played very well, and if our resources are managed, effectively, I think benefit out of it. If it is not in the interest of the people, yes, I think every president will have the obligation to terminate it.
So, yeah, quickly, hopefully, my question is going to come in the form of an advice and an education. Firstly, I want to advise you that my questions are thought provoking, so be careful how you answer. Just like you missed the opportunity earlier to justify the humongous funding from the diaspora. However, you took the opportunity to further establish your resistance to scrutiny. In my opinion, some of the strongest scrutiny on African governance come from the West. Next thing, I want you to know, in your ignorance, Western countries, black countries have destroyed their economies in protest of the unification, not necessarily unification, but the liberation of African countries. Cuba did for Angola, Jamaica did for South Africa. The Americans, I can remember everywhere I think of in the West where black people exist, have fought blood, sweat, and tears for the development and liberation for Africa because they themselves knows that the unification of Africa is our only solace and foundation. Now, you being a man of knowledge, which I suspect, I know you know all these things. Now, my question is, have you got something to hide why you're isolating valid scrutiny?
I don't get your question, please. Can anybody help out with the question?
So the question is, in a nutshell, at this point, I and yourself will agree that some of the most stringent scrutiny regarding African governance is from Western people in the diaspora, particularly those from a slave descent who does consider themselves um, diasporans, regardless of what your construction of diasporans want to be, because you seems to be highlighting the fact that Africans, quote unquote, diaspora, as if you are differentiating between Africans and other Africans. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Is this because two Americans asked two valid questions in my opinion, which I've heard you rudely refuse to even acknowledge in a certain way. It seems rather insulting when you went that way at the diaspora generalized like that. That can be damaging even to your own character. That's an advice. But what I'm saying, are you avoiding these scrutiny? Like I said, my questions are thought provoking. It's up to you or you answer it.
See, we can disagree, or we can agree. Nobody has a confusion of knowledge. Your knowledge, I mean, I don't want to look as if, you said, being insultive, and if I take a position that I disagree with you, I don't feel being insulted. First, I've not been in government. I've been in 30 years in Germany. I've not been in government. I don't work for government. I don't earn contract from government. I've been a self-employed for the past 30 years. I run projects. I mean, as a matter of fact, I consult for the federal government of Germany. I was a senator in Germany in an integration biraat. So please, don't lecture me about Africa and about diaspora. I've been here for the past 30 years, and I've played some leading roles in the diaspora, both in diaspora and in Nigeria. That does not make me, Solomon, or to know everything. But please, when you make yourself a public servant, which is also one of the problems we have in Nigeria and Africa, being a public servant does not mean a public slave. I left my comfort zone to come and serve my people in Africa. And I think everybody, like my brother in Nigeria said it, everybody has the opportunity to go back to Africa or wherever they want to help the black man, or whenever they have the continent to help them. Let us not stay, be righteous in our own thinking, and thinking that everything other Africans are doing are not correct if they are not doing it from the perspective of the Africans in diaspora. So again, it's a matter of me. My opinion is my opinion. I have nothing to hide. I have not in government. I have not in a government contract. I've never worked for government. I've been a consultant all my life, and I'm spending my money to make sure that I help my people in Africa.
I
So I
know,
have nothing to hide.
we've heard all that before, but what I'm
I
saying,
have
it's
nothing to hide, my dear.
counterproductive. It's
If you have
counterproductive to
any
your
direct question,
position.
if you have
Isn't
any
it
direct question,
counterproductive
you
to
ask
your
me, and I'll be
position
able
to
to
speak
answer
the
you.
vice of the institution that you head? That's what I'm saying. When you said when you try to create differentiation, I am being
Excuse me. What do you really mean by differentiation? Can you explain what I mean by differentiation?
African diaspora as
Yeah.
opposed to the people who consider themselves African diaspora as well,
Who
like
is
Jamaicans,
denying that
Black
part? Who is arguing that part
Americans.
with you? Who is denying that part with you? Nobody denied that part with you. So what's the debate here? I never differentiated from any Africans.
Can I just
Okay,
say, can I
okay, all
just
right, all right.
yes, right. Okay, well, there's a few things. I mean, I've been listening to you for a little while. I yeah, well, nothing about Africa is simple, but what basically what I
I agree with you, Ruby. I agree with you. Absolutely.
right, give me just speak. Let me say what I have to say. I've listened to you. I'm not quite sure whether you're speaking on a level of an organization which is representing the diaspora, or you're talking for yourself. This is something that is quite confusing because you say I haven't heard any policies about the diaspora. The other thing is that the diaspora, which is spread right across the world, it was a state and multiple states enterprise to take us from Africa, and we are where we are in the world now. I want to know what the African governments are going to do about bringing their people home. It should not just be down to individuals who have made it in the West who can go back to Africa to invest. There should be programs, widely acknowledged and publicized programs, where the African governments are bringing their people home and are giving the diaspora the opportunity to come home with their skills, to get jobs, to have employment, to have accommodation, just in the same way that we were taken from Africa. I don't hear that, and I don't hear any organization doing that. We need to now be focusing on, yes, we have a diaspora which has got a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, can do a lot. I want to know why the African people, the African governments of Africa, is not putting programs together to bring back our African people who have been imprisoned, put in slavery, and dispersed right across the world. Can you give me something?
Thank you, Rudy. Very, very elaborate and direct question. And so, for with due respect, for most people who think we are being rude, if you ask wrong questions, you get wrong answers. One thing, I'm actually on this program to speak on a political party in Nigeria, and that is the African Democratic Congress. And the idea is that, and it is this political party is really tailored strictly for Nigerians in diaspora who wants to come back home and participate in the government. I don't know if it's clear from this point of view. And so I am not actually speaking for the African diaspora as a whole, or for the government for the African diaspora as a whole. I'm speaking for Nigerians who are interested in coming back home and involved in the political participation. But having answered you that question, being in the African diaspora for the past 30 years, I could, throw my opinion and my idea what you mean and probably how we could, go about that. Again, I repeated that around 2013, 2003, 2009, I'm not quite, I can't have the dates in my head now. The African Union, formerly the African Organization for African Unity, OAU, which is now African Union, they passed a, a resolution to recognize the Africans in diaspora as the sixth region of Africa. Africa is divided into 5 regions: the north, the west, the east, the southwest, and the rest of them. And they agree, exactly like what you said, that we have a lot of potentials in the diaspora generally. And so they created the African sixth region, which, so to say, I mean, that's the idea behind it. And so with this African sixth region, it is expected, just like you mentioned, to galvanize the Africans in the diaspora, both financially and human resources, to come back to Africa and to help to develop the African continent. That is the idea. And so the African Union passed this policy, and it's expected that the 5 continents of the world, the Europe, the Asia, the Americas, and so on, have to have what we call the African Union, African Diaspora, or the African, the AU, they call it the AUADS, African Union, African Diaspora, 6th region Europe, African region diaspora, 6th region America, and so on and so forth. I see somebody writing at I don't care about the brain drain, but again, they misses the point. The point is that they expect the Africans who have gained knowledge politically, socially, economically, to come back to Africa and to help to, to speed up the development in the continent. And I can tell you, a lot of African Americans, they came back to Ghana to to in that process. They also same thing with Nigeria. But again, unfortunately, after many years of this institution, the African Union, African Diaspora, which is supposed to be totally left for the African diaspora to organize for themselves, are still yet to implement it. It's a problem. It's a problem because the Africans cannot even agree together on how best to form this. In addition, the African Union, African Diaspora also have a representative in the African Union in Addis Ababa, where they have a parliament that is supposed to be to represent the interests of the African and the diaspora. Again, this policy has not actually taken off. So they still need a lot of work to do between the Africans in diaspora and the African Union, to answer exactly the issue you identified. Again, I went out of my way to explain that, having been in the diaspora, but like I said, the reason I am here is simply that I am here for a political party that is interested in getting the interest of Nigerians in the diaspora to come back home, which is actually a brain game, to come back home with all their ideas, politically, social, otherwise, to engage in this political process. Now, what makes this unique, unlike the other most political party, what makes this unique is that no political party in Nigeria has given the diaspora a chance, a seat to come directly and participate in the political process without being in the country. The ADC, which is the party I represent, is the only party in the Federal Republic of Nigeria that has given the diaspora the opportunity to stay in diaspora and engage in the political process in Nigeria. And actually, I was in this program, or I'm in this program, to actually give this information and pledge with our brothers in the diaspora from Nigeria who are interested in political participation to join hands to come back to Nigeria and involve in the political development of Nigeria. So that's actually why I'm here in the program.
Okay. Okay. Just, I'm glad he's talking about ADC. Just to be sure, it's the same ADC that is involved in the coalition. Is it a different ADC or the same ADC?
Absolutely, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, okay, the idea of trying to invite diaspora is really good. I'm very very much interested in that, right? And so hopefully we can connect much later and see how I can get involved in that.
Thank
My
you, sir.
question
My
is,
pleasure.
my question is, the problem of Nigeria is always corruption, and system cannot be corrupt. It's the people running the system can also make the system corrupt. And with the ADC now, there's already infighting going on. I was reluctant to accept the idea of a coalition, but with the same old people, with the same, the same politician, business as usual. So how can we, because at this point now I don't really care, uh, just for interest. I supported Peter being the last one, but as long as there's somebody who is not corrupt, who is going to fight corruption, that is there, I will support the person, whoever is. So how do Nigerians, how do we as a political party or anybody stop the infighting that's already going on in the ADC now? There's already infighting, there's already court cases or people planning to go to court. What How do we stop that, the political infighting and the
Thank,
tribalism?
thank you very much. Again, these are actually the question I'm at home with, which actually I was hope I'm here to to throw more light in. I was in. I think somebody raised that issue a few minutes ago about Kachuku. Kachuku was the presidential candidate who ran and won the presidential candidate for the party. Unfortunately, he fell out with the party because we are of the opinion that after getting the ticket for the presidential election, he basically did not campaign for whatever reason. I don't know, for whatever personal reason, which was a little bit worrying for the party. And so when he was actually, confronted why he's not campaigning on the platform of the party, there was a misunderstanding between him and the party. So the party withdrew the presidential candidacy they gave to him and endorsed Peter Obi. Are you following? And so they withdrew the candidacy and gave it to Peter Obi. Of course, that did not go down well with him. So there was an issue, there was a court case, there was an issue, and the rest of them. But I will say to the best of my knowledge that the party actually expelled him. They first suspended him, had a committee to review that, and later they expelled him. But our national chairman then, Chifraf was okay, out of the willingness to build, to build back, peace in the party. He was invited back to the party and said that let's all reconcile as brothers and sisters. That was the situation, 2022, 2023. And so when this coalition came up, some of them went to court, saying that they were not consulted before the coalition they took place. But in the truth of the story is that it has no locus standi. And so there is no fraction in the party, there's no infighting in the party. And they are just trying to use sentiments to use it, to disorganize the party, and that's what the problem is. Now, on your way forward, on your question of your way forward, my advice to obedient movement, there's no two ways about it. That obedient movement is basically, is a man that will win election in Nigeria. It's a man that most people, trusted, so to say, to do the right thing. So my appeal to obedient people are two ways. Politics is about number. Getting elected in the primaries is about people from delegates, coming together, and coming to participate. But unfortunately, we discovered that most of my brothers from the obedient movement, like I said before, that our party endorsed the P2B during the last election, giving him one of the biggest agents in the election. So my advice is that they should basically, be a little bit less militant and more diplomatic, to be able to, if you like, I shouldn't use that word, but to come to the ADC party, make sure they boost up the numbers, and they make sure that in every local government, in every state where they represent, that they have enough number to make sure that their delegates vote Obi as their presidential candidate, in case there is no consensus. But like I said at the beginning, if you remember at the beginning of the question, that every Nigerian has a right to vote and be voted for, as long as he has no crime. So whether it is a Elijah Atiku, whether it's a Erufai, whether it's Amechi, until the court of law said that they are guilty of any crime, they are like every other Nigerian. Go ahead. I hope.
Just one second. I'm not asking questions. I want to tell you something.
It's good to have. It's good to see Mr. Gbani here. I'm Honorable Ben. I'm the one. I know you very well. I've had the opportunity of benefiting from the leadership of Mr. Gbandi when
Thank
he
you so
was
much. Thank you so much.
we quite we know your capabilities and is top notch. Now we are still like the new party now, the coalition in Nigeria now is like the euphoria when it comes to the coming of a new bride. Is always there. My question is, is like people are still some people are still complaining that it's still the coming around of the old chip of the old block, coming around, maybe except one or two persons like Peter Obi, except that, people, all of them, they are still rigmaroling. What is your opinion? Is that because morally, it's like it's affecting, it may affect the choice opinions of people. So what is your opinion? What is your own view? But let me quickly say that I appreciate you. You know very well that some of us we quite benefited from your knowledge. You are somebody that appreciate your doggedness and your consistency, and you're trying to leave your comfort zone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Benedict. I know you very well. We've been friends on Facebook, though I don't think we've met personally, so I appreciate those kind words. Anybody who is not from Nigeria will not understand in two cases of Nigerian politics, not to talk of leading the diaspora. Yes, again, like I said, unfortunately, we have the SA to, we're supposed to have the representative of the obedient movement in Europe. He was duly invited. I don't know why he's not here. We have the SA to Atiku is here, but unfortunately, I think the time has run out because he came in late. But to answer your question, it's not going to be different from the first one I said. That politics is about number. And I had a lot of people coming in from both articulated end or from obedient end to say that they don't want to make any move until they are sure that their candidate, gets the ticket. And I said, but that's the worst mistake anybody can make politically, because you are absolutely right. There's a lot of confusion in obedient movement to join or not to join, to be or not to be, and that is affecting also a lot of mobilization from the country. My advice is simple: that politics is a game of number, and that if His Excellency Atiku, in his wisdom, might decide to support Obi, might decide to step down. I'm not saying he is. Nobody should quote me wrongly. Might decide to step down. Might decide to support Obi, but it is the attitude of the party. It is the attitude of the candidate. It is the attitude of those people who are supporting him that will actually, give the impetus to say, okay, we think that the condition is right, the environment is right, so that we can be able to put our heads together too. So my opinion would be, to move in, straight and make sure that they get involved in the party politics and make sure that their interest of their candidate is protected, like every other candidate. At the end of it, candidate with a large followers and large and that can vote the primaries that will eventually determine who gets it.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, but first of all, I really also do appreciate, like Mr. Ben said, I'm a resident in Germany. It takes a lot of courage to start moving towards home. A lot of us also try to make that move, but even the soft landing, it doesn't give you opportunities. So you are really strong to be moving and also consistent.
Thank you,
My problem now is you said that politics is a game of numbers, but numbers failed us in the last election because of INEC. The corruption is so deep rooted that even the numbers they failed. So I mean, P2B, the obedient movement. So we are all convinced as Nigerians that if it has to really do with honesty and numbers, P2B would have been governing Nigeria. The only state that managed to get a governor that I'm sure is Abia State, and that's my state of origin. And we never experienced such level of growth. Anybody can Google Abia State or Aba if you don't know. It's one of the smallest states in Nigeria, but they're making the most success because so the question now is, how are we going to tackle the INEC? The INEC is the people in charge of the election. For people who don't know, how are we going to make sure that in the next election that the numbers count? How are we going to make sure? Because one of the excuses they gave last time was because the Labour Party was not well grounded and deep rooted into the constituencies and smaller sectors of the government. That's why they were not well represented. So how is this ADC going to tackle this problem if they manage to move on and succeed in their intent, which I still don't know? We'll find out.
Thank you, Black Ice, the Prince himself. Just before I answer your question, I want to remind Samson that the SA to article is here. Like I said, it came in exactly so that I don't look as if we're so that it doesn't look as if all right, all right. So that we don't look as if I dishonor anybody. Back to what Francis asked. Probably you did not. You have not joined when we also shared idea on that. That I am one of the first person that wrote that I lost. I'm not comfortable with the INEC chairman, and the INEC chairman should be fired. In fact, it's a mystery why the man is still there, and I don't understand why he's still there. But that said, somebody said a few chats ago that when the people rise, and when it's very, very clear that Nigerians need a change, not even term of INEC chairman can stop it. And so while we're still advocating for the man to be removed before the election, that's one point. We are going to advocate that the electronic transmission, which we failed last time, must be reinstated, and it can only be through that we can conduct a free and fair election. And then once we follow those rules up, with hope, eventually our vote is going to count. So these are the two things fundamentally, of course, reform before now and 2027, number one, remove INEC chairman and make sure that the electronic transmission of results also count. If we can do these three things, I think we're going to build confidence in people that the next election will be successful.
Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Ken, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you. The honorable guest and fellow Nigerians and our dear fellow diasporans. My name is Chief Anthony Onwuka. Honestly, indeed, it's my privilege to present, to be part of you guys this evening and present the perspective of my own boss, who is Atiku Abubakar, at this interactive engagement. As we gather to discuss the future of our great nation, even though I'm a bit late, Kenneth, I've been here for since 1510, but yeah, so I am honored to share my thoughts on why Atiku Abubakar stands out as a beacon of hope for Nigeria's political renewal. With his wealth of experience, leadership acumen, and commitment to democratic values, Atiku is uniquely positioned to address the nation's pressing challenges. Atiku's vast experience in governance and politics are unparalleled. As a seasoned politician and former Vice President of Nigeria, he remains a significant figure in our nation's political landscape. His long-time political career had seen him active in politics for decades, serving as Vice President from 1999 to 2007. His tenure as Vice President was marked by significant contributions to the country development, showcasing his leadership acumen and vision. We all know on his economic policy and vision, Atiku has consistently advocated for economic diversification, private sector growth, and job creation. He has championed initiatives aimed at improving Nigeria's business environment, enhancing trade, and promoting economic development. On infrastructural development, he contributed to the development of critical infrastructure, including roads, bridges, and public building. Atiku also supported initiatives that improved access to education, healthcare, and social welfare services, especially for low-income earners. We all know that Atiku owns also American University in Nigeria. Atiku has maintained a very significant followership within his party and across Nigeria. His support base cuts across all the geopolitical zones despite our disposition for ethnic loyalties. He is known for his ability to mobilize support and galvanize his followers around key issues and causes. Even Nigerian current challenges, which all know, Atiku experience and expertise are more relevant than ever. His understanding of the intricacies of governance, coupled with his commitment to democratic values, position him uniquely to address the nation's pressing issues. The economic instability the Nigerian economy is facing significant challenges, including hyperinflation with soaring food prices, unemployment, and debt. The country is grappling with security issues, including terrorism, banditry, street crimes, and kidnapping. We all know what we're suffering in this country, corruption, and it remains a major challenge, undermining governance and development. His strengths, which all know, his leadership experience, Atiku leadership experience has equipped him with skills to navigate complex political landscape and build coalition. His economic policies and initiatives have the potential to stimulate growth, create jobs, improve life standards. Atiku has consistently demonstrated commitment to democratic principles, making him a strong advocate for good governance, which we know the roles he played during the third-term agenda of President Obasanjo. We all know very well that Atiku has proposed several policies initiatives aimed at addressing Nigerian challenges that include economic diversification, like I said earlier. Article's economic policies focus on diversifying the economic, promoting entrepreneurship, and creating more jobs. We all know all these things about Atiku Abubakar and his capacity. In my conclusion, Atiku Abubakar's wealth of experience, leadership skills, and commitment to democracy make him an ideal candidate to salvage Nigeria from its current political and economic challenges. As we strive to a better Nigeria, it is imperative that we consider leaders who have proven track records of service, vision, and dedication to the nation's progress. I believe that with Atiku at the helm, Nigeria can look forward to a brighter future. The truth of the matter, my dear brother, I really appreciate this time, Mr. Ken and Itodo. I am so sorry that I was 10 minutes late, but I've been really enjoying the interactive session. So I am here to answer your questions if there are any. Thank you. Okay. Yes, correct. Correct. Yes, correct. It cannot be the last question. Oh. Okay. Is it okay? Is it the only question, or should I answer just one and then the next one I'll answer? Or you want to ask all the questions, then I will pick it. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me answer. Thank you. Thank you, my dear brother. Um, thank you, everyone. The party is still at the formation stage. Currently, what we have is a new platform called ADC. All the leaders are coming together. They're still building the party. We just unveiled the party last week. So there is no price tag on any presidential ticket yet. The contestants are not even pronounced yet. People are just making some insinuations and permutations. So it's when they, after building the party, they will now come together. It is democracy. They don't dash tickets. You come together and then you contest for the primary ticket. That is how it is. But for now, there is no price tag. There's no price tag on any ticket for now.
Well, thank you, His Excellency, the Special Advisor to Article on Diaspora Affair. Thank you, all my diaspora brothers, especially those people from Nigeria. We learn in diaspora to discuss. That's what makes us different from people in Africa, respectfully, politically, and that we agree to disagree and we disagree to agree. What we must not do is to believe that our knowledge of Africa is better than the other person's knowledge about Africa. Yes, we can agree to disagree. We have different perspectives of Africa. If anybody feel that I basically, address them wrongly, my apologies. That's not my intention. And again, for 30 years, I've served both the Nigerians and the diaspora meticulously, and I thank God I will have Mr. Benedict and Mr. Mr. Black Eyes, and even the SA to Mr. Vice President. We have all paid our dues. Everybody, every single one of us has tried, to leave their comfort zone. Not only me, either in the Nigerian community or in Middle or in African affairs. We have all done our best, and so let nobody, feel that we have two sets of diasporans. Diasporans are diasporans as long as you're a black man and an African. And all we're trying to do is to put heads together and put hands together and to see that we rescue our continent. And so I had a very, very robust, as a politician or a nation builder, I like to call myself. I don't feel, I don't have any problem, going into a very hot debate, disagreeing with my fellow African or with my fellow Nigerians. And I hope at the end of the day, Nigerians, whether it's obedient or articulated, must come together to go. And of course, I'll be willing to come anytime. I see Mr. Tip saying that they would like to have us back with all pleasure. Anytime you arrange, we'll come back. Part of the discussion here was political education. Continue to educate our people, both in diaspora and Nigeria, the need for us to come together and help our country and help our continent. So it's been a pleasure being there. Thank you, Mr. Sam, for putting this a wonderful platform together.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Nigerians. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Mr. Itodo. I do appreciate this time and this opportunity to talk to my people. I was once a diasporan. I stayed in Germany and studied there, and I also worked there before I now finally relocated to Nigeria. Nigeria is home. We should return home peacefully. We should come and make Nigeria safe. Germany was built by Germans. Even after the war, they still stayed there and rebuilt their country. Let us all come home and rebuild Nigeria. When we talk about corruption, it is not spirit that will help us fight corruption. It's also we, when we return with the experience we have acquired for years in abroad, we now come here and put it into action. That is the only way we can now fight the corruption. To my brothers, the obedience and the articulates, I plead with you guys to calm down, try to understand what the system is about. All the big players in the political scene, they are all together. But we that are below do fight every time because we don't understand how this politics is being played in Nigeria. The concept of politics in Nigeria is slightly different from that of Europe and Western world, if I'm correct. So I beg you all to please calm down, study the terrain as it is now. The scenario now and that of 2023 is no longer the same. So I beg my obedient brothers and articulates not to fight each other. Try to come together and then figure out which way forward and how do we work together to make Nigeria a better place for all. Thank you. I remain your.
May I say something? Mm.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Which the new party is seriously planning to favor the diasporans, both you are Nigerian in diaspora or non-Nigerian. The new party is going to offer a fourth arm of government to the diasporans. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria. That is what makes this ADC unique. And then the new party is going to grant a lot of incentives to our incoming investors. In fact, from 2027, the first day the ADC will take over government. Yes.
Sam, just like you said, just the last word before we go. Like my
I would
last
like to say something too.
like the last speaker said, ADC is called African Democratic Congress, not Nigerian Democratic Congress, which means it's open for all our African brothers and sisters, all the Africans in diaspora. So they are invited to come and join ADC.
Yes. Thank you. No matter what, you stood your ground. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.